Hi, Ms. Goldberg. I'm Keith, and I'm a professional public school teacher as well as a pedagogue. And you're right, I think a lot of people are upset at some of the things that have been expressed, but I think you may be confused as to what and why. Your definition of tenure is incorrect. It's simply not accurate. Now, you may have been being colloquial when you said teach forever, but you have a huge microphone. We have little itty-bitty tiny microphones. When you say teach forever, you reinforce the misperception amongst the American general public that there comes a point in a teacher's career when they're told, well, we're done, we're never going to look at what you do again. Good luck, enjoy, continue doing what you do. And that's never been the case. Now, it is true that there are places where the tenure system and other due process methods are not properly employed, but that's an entirely separate issue. If there's a good law, but it's badly enforced, you need to talk about law enforcement, not about the law. Tenure itself is not problematic. Providing a system by which we say a teacher has consistently demonstrated and shown all of the qualitative and quantitative data necessary to earn the general public trust and will therefore not be put on an every 5-minute kind of cycle. I'm being colloquial now. They won't be observed perhaps every semester, but they'll be observed every couple of years in a very meaningful formal way. But they'll still be informally observed all the time. Great administrators, I don't know if I'm great, but I am an administrator, we spend a lot of time looking at what teachers do. That's our job. We can't base what a teacher does on a standardized test score or a number. A standardized test takes the full potential of a child and it boils it down to a little itty-bitty tiny fragment of who they are. It's a single integer taken out of context that doesn't really mean anything. So you can't sit in an office, look at a spreadsheet, and know if a teacher is good. This is one of the great misperceptions of the corporate reform movement, that you can look at a piece of paper from an office somewhere and know what a teacher's doing. You can't. You have to be a professional educator. You have to be trained in teaching and learning. You ideally need to have done it yourself, and extensively so, in order to go into a classroom, look meaningfully at what's happening as a professional, analyze the totality of the data, and then infer and make some decisions based on that qualitative analysis, that comprehensive qualitative analysis, as to whether or not a teacher is efficacious or not. That's a big deal. That's a big job. And in that job, there is plenty of room for corruption. Corruption unintentionally or intentionally. People who have vendettas, people who have bad ideas, people who are pushing agendas, and in many cases, with the way things are going nowadays, people who are being influenced by American corporate reform. That's why due process is so critically important to ensuring that good teachers have the academic freedom and are encouraged to have the backbone to do what is right to teach children effectively, no matter what deleterious influences may be pushing at them from the outside. We have to do what's right by kids, even if somebody gets a little crazy wild hair and comes into the classroom and does something really nefarious. Now, if that sounds somewhat paranoid, you'll have to forgive us because many of us have experienced precisely that. I have had administrators come into my classroom with ulterior motives and try to pass judgments on me that have absolutely nothing to do with the efficacy of my instruction. And others have seen the same thing. That's how we get into positions in which we advocate for really good due process. Now, you'll hear people say that the 14th Amendment provides all the due process necessary, but it simply isn't so. Internal to the school, within the organization, we also need a clear, public, transparent, highly accountable set of rules and conditions that help everybody know that we're on the same page. That's a very important part of working when it comes to dealing with children, when it comes to dealing with the public trust, and when it comes to being accountable in a system that is very complex. The understanding of child development, the understanding of pedagogy and teaching and learning and all the things that go into being a good teacher, it's complicated. It's not intended to be understood by the general public simply. Knowing a teacher is not the same thing as knowing teaching. Having been taught does not qualify one to teach. We would not tell the average citizen that they can tell a firefighter where to point the hose. There's a public trust. We have to put elected officials into place where you put in that overarching legal precedent. But after that, it's up to professionals that know what they're doing to do the evaluating. And to make sure that they're doing it effectively, we need a system, a clear, transparent method for ensuring that good teachers get evaluated as being good and the bad teachers get evaluated as being bad. There is no responsible, rational, professional educator, Ms. Goldberg, that wants bad teachers. I do not want to teach next to them, and I have had to. I have been forced to. Why? because people above me did not avail themselves of the vehicles that were given to them. That is not about people down on the ground. That is not about denying me my due process rights. That's about people being put into positions of leadership who ought not to be there. And who's getting promoted into positions of leadership? People that do not avail themselves of the system. People that keep things calm, people that go for the status quo, people that are willing to do what needs to be done to put a nice, shiny, happy veneer on things, but it really doesn't have anything to do with teacher quality. So in short, you have a big microphone to raise the level of discourse on this particular subject and shine a bright light on the fact that tenure as a phenomenon is not problematic. The misapplication of any due process system is a significant breach of the public trust, and that's a very different sentiment. So I hope that you'll forgive my inadvertent lesson, but as a professional educator, I don't want to punish my students when they get something wrong. I don't want to be punitive. I want to give you an opportunity. I'm going to give you the remediation, and I want to make sure that we can revisit this conversation and try it again. So I received your assessment. I received the video that you turned in, and I'm afraid that I'm going to have to ask you to do some revisions. Your definition of tenure is not exactly correct. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll take it. There's no penalty for late work. If you wouldn't mind handing that in a second time, I think we'd all really appreciate it. Thanks very much.